to accomplish the works you have presented before us. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. I'm Stephen Kendrick for OneCry.com.
It's a jungle out there on the roads. Give your child the tools they need to avoid bull elephants, snakes, parrots, monkeys, hyenas, and crocodiles so that they can make it home safely. Jungle Driving School is located conveniently on the west side of El Paso at the shops at Solana on Sunland Park Drive. 915-900-4943. Jungle Driving School now offering a 10% discount for KELP listeners. See you in the jungle.
You are listening to KELP El Paso. Feed your mind, feed your soul at 1590 AM, 95.9 FM. Streaming worldwide at KELPradio.com.
915 Talk is a production of Desert Voice Media. You can visit desertvoice.media to learn more.
915 TALK.
The world is looking at El Paso.
What will we say to the world? From the KELP studio in El Paso, this is 915 Talk.
And now your host.
Oh, good afternoon, most excellent neighbors of the world's largest borderplex. This is 915 Talk, and I'm your host, Andy Frecka. It's a sunny May 27th, year of our Lord, 2026. And today we have the distinct pleasure of having Mac Daddy Del Norte on the board. Mac Daddy, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing pretty good, Andy. How about yourself?
I thought you'd never ask. I must confess that my vocabulary continues to be painfully poverty-stricken. I'm unable to describe the wonder and joy of this educational journey that we've embarked upon as we learn to love our city, love our neighbors, and give God all the glory. But Mac Daddy Del Norte, riddle me this.
Okay.
You're the son of a pastor.
I am.
So you get some theological training every week, right?
Yes, that is correct.
So,
en español.
In Espanol.
Yes, sir.
What's the name of your church again?
El Cordero de Dios.
What is it with Hispanic churches having really long names?
Bro. And that's short for actually the real long name.
Yeah. So give us the
Templo
full.
Cristiano, El Cordero de Dios, de la Iglesia Bautista. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Forever and ever.
Forever and
Amen. Yeah. So
know,
as a pastor's son,
Yeah.
I have a theological question for you.
Okay, go for it.
How much money do you need to give to the church to know that you're biblically correct?
Ooh, I'm going to go with 10%.
You went with the safe answer. So
with the safe, that's a safe answer? What?
So when you reach the pearly gates, St. Peter is going to check your bank account. So is it 10% of gross or 10% of net, Mac Daddy?
I'm going to go with 10% of gross.
Oh, okay.
That's how it should be.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
All right. So
Yes.
it is a fun and interesting conversation. We're going to talk about that today.
Okay. All right.
So we made a pretty clickbaity title for our YouTube. So 915 Talk is our YouTube channel. And you asked me today, what is the title? So what is the title today, according to YouTube, of our program?
According to YouTube, generosity or AI?
Generosity and AI.
And AI. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just going to be two different subjects.
Okay.
Generosity and AI,
Okay.
not connected to each other. We do not need to be generous to AI. AI certainly has not been generous to us. But
Yeah.
So today we have two very special guests in the studio. Do you know why they're special, Mac Daddy?
Oh, yeah, because they are the unique expressions of an endlessly creative God.
That is true. Also, they're like family, right, Mac?
They
Daddy?
are family.
Yeah. Oh, they are
They
family.
are family.
Yeah, I like that. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So they're over at I don't know if you've ever heard of this place, Mac Daddy Del Norte, Truvize Financial Planning.
I think so.
Yeah,
we only plan like every hour. I just
Yeah, but they're good friends of this
Yeah.
radio ministry. They're here in El Paso, Truvize Financial Planning. I do need to give the little disclaimer that nothing in this broadcast replaces the advice you would get from a licensed professional who understands the specifics of your situation.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So go hire someone. But you know what? I didn't even ask them, but we're going to open up the phone lines, 915-779-0016. If you have if you have a thought on how much money you need to give to your church or just give away to be acceptable biblically. Okay. 915-779-0016. I don't know if Truvize Financial Planning has a theological background.
I can answer that.
So without further ado, let's give a very warm Borderland welcome to Truvize Financial Planning, Drew and Jonathan. Drew and Jonathan, welcome back.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks.
Okay, so let's talk theology here. What's your background?
As soon as you said that, I said, yeah, we're not going to help you answer that question.
Oh, it is interesting. It is interesting. There's like all this, at least on social media, I've seen all these different push that, Mac Daddy talked about 10%, and some are like, well, that's Old Testament, New Testament. But I think the story of the Bible is we need to be generous. Absolutely. And maybe 10% is a good starting point. So you both are in the financial planning world. We've talked a lot about investments on this program previously, retirement accounts. I know that you work with high net worth individuals, and a lot of these folks are very interested in serving the community, investing in the world, investing in the kingdom of God, all those things. What are some of the challenges that pop up as someone is genuinely looking at being generous, but how do I do so?
Yeah, I think one challenge is if you have the money to give, where do I give it? Who do I give it to if it's not just my local church?
Right.
And that's something we were all talking about, but it's finding the right organization or the right cause. And then another challenge would be if I'm going to give, how do I do it the most efficiently? So in our world and the way that we operate, we're looking for ways to give that will help the cause of what they're giving to, while also potentially maybe saving some money on taxes, maybe allowing investments to continue to do what they want them to be doing while still giving. There's a few different ways that can be done, and that's where we focus on. Obviously, on the financial planning side, do you want to give and how much of your plan do you want to focus on is a big part, but the other is when we do give, how do we do it in the most efficient way possible?
Right. Okay. Drew, chime in.
Yeah, well, I mean, so just like Jonathan said, there are some things that can be done on that second side of things. I would say as Christians who are financial planners, the first primary foundational choice is where you're going to give, why you're going to give. And then we would come in on how to efficiently give from a financial standpoint. One of the first things that you can explore is donor-advised funds. And this is basically a fund that you set up with, and there's multiple options, but big names like you've heard, maybe Fidelity, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
But this is basically a fund that you establish, and then you make a donation to this fund. And you can donate cash, you can donate stocks, you can donate investments basically that have appreciated. And if you were to liquidate those investments, you would experience some pretty hefty taxes. Okay. But you can donate it to this donor-advised fund, and then you get a tax deduction for the value of what you donated, the entire amount.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
That's a big one.
That's a big one.
So let's do a real-life example. Let's say you bought a stock, and it was $10,000 that you initially bought, and it grew for years. And it grew from $10,000 to $30,000.
Okay.
You only have $10,000 of your money in that, right? The other $20,000 is gain.
Right.
Somebody could donate that appreciated stock, so donate the $30,000 value of stock to a donor-advised fund, which could then pass it on to their church or a religious organization. And the donator doesn't just get a $10,000 deduction, they get a $30,000 deduction, even though it was only $10,000 of their original money.
Oh, wow.
And they don't pay taxes on that gain. So they were able to get triple the amount of giving without any of the tax consequences in the gain. And many times you end up, goes from $10,000 to $30,000. They say, oh, I want to give. They sell,
Right.
pay taxes, and then give off the net. You didn't have to do that. You could have donated the appreciated stock.
That's a pretty big deal.
It's a
Yes.
massive deal. Yeah.
Okay, and so am I right to understand, bearing in mind that nothing in this broadcast is in any way to be construed as financial or medical advice?
Well, it might be such good advice you have a heart attack,
Right,
and
right.
then we could talk about that.
Informational purposes only. But you gave this example of you invest $10,000, it grows to 30, and you donate the stock or
Right,
whatever it
right.
is as a whole to a church or a nonprofit, and you get a tax write-off for the 30, right? Since it's a nonprofit, they don't pay tax on
That's
the gain
right.
either?
Correct.
That's right.
Okay.
They could then take that appreciated stock, sell it, and take the $30,000 and do what they need with it.
Okay.
And it flows through a very specific fund called a donor advised fund. Now, one of the other powerful parts of donor advised funds is you don't necessarily have to donate that money right away.
Okay.
So you can make the contribution to the donor advised fund. It can be invested for the long term, and then you could disperse it in any future years if you desire to. So there's much more flexibility in obtaining that deduction in the current year. I'm not necessarily restricted to decide who I want to donate this to in that current year.
Okay, so I have a lot of questions about this, but first, Mac Daddy, we're on the radio right now,
We are.
and we're learning a lot of important things, and I'm trying to stay focused. But we have a TV plague.
Oh, my bad.
Thank you. I was like starting to watch a TV program. Anyway, back to Drew and Jonathan, Truvize Financial Planning. I want to make sure I understand
Yeah.
what the donor advised fund actually is. What is that entity? Is it like I'm going to come up with a word, like a fidelity account? You just put it in there and you get your write-off, and then you can decide later? Is that what you're saying?
So it is like you're saying, if you can open a Fidelity account, a Fidelity donor advised fund. Technically, when you make the gift to the donor advised fund account, it's no longer your money. That's why you're able to get the
Technically.
deduction. But you can then suggest to the donor advised fund
Okay.
who you would like that money then to be donated to.
Okay, but it needs to be a nonprofit or a church.
Yes.
Okay.
So it is 501c3 giving, but the biggest thing is you it's no longer your money, but you can keep control of where you want that money to go.
But you
and which
cannot have that money
organizations.
returned to your bank account.
No,
Correct.
it's irrevocable.
They call
Yes.
it, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So you put it in this account, you immediately get the tax write-off?
Correct.
That's right.
And like Drew said, two of the biggest powerful things with what we're talking about is, again, let's use a practical example. Let's say this year, it's May 27th.
It is.
You just retired.
Right?
And so the
Sounds
rest,
amazing.
And so the rest of the year, you have no income, but you still had income this year. And let's say it was high income. This is a great year right before you go into full retirement next year, where you have no income, where you should make large charitable contributions, whether it's donor advised fund or other, but try to make large charitable contributions to lower your taxable income for the year. Even if your plan is not to have given all that money at once. So let's say that you had, a large portfolio and you said, I want to
Sounds
give
amazing.
10%.
Right.
Over the course of my life, I want to give 10% of this account to my church, to different organizations, but I don't necessarily know how much to which one or when. Well, that year where your income is higher would be a great year to contribute 10% of that large portfolio to the donor advised fund, or at least a large portion to the donor advised fund, because you will get a tax write-off that year.
Okay.
Then the money can sit in that donor advised fund, be invested, grow, be more than you ever put in. And the next year or 2 years later or 5 years later or 10 years later, you could then start distributing it where you would like.
It sounds like a personal miniature foundation,
Yes. I mean,
Yeah,
that's probably
sure.
a good description.
right? Okay, so I mean, you said it's there in this account, and as the advisor of the fund, you can probably decide what it's invested in,
Yep.
right? And watch it grow, and then X percentage actually give away each year.
Yep.
Yeah.
What happens if you suddenly pass away?
When you open the account,
God forbid.
yeah.
Yes.
When you open the account, you can put beneficiaries or specific, again, 501c3
Advisors.
that you'd want it to pass
Oh,
on.
gotcha. Okay, where it's going to actually
Because
go.
again, it's
Yeah.
no longer your money.
Right.
Okay. All right. So as I'm thinking about this, I'm just thinking, I wonder how many churches in El Paso, in southern New Mexico, have folks in those churches who are liquidating the stock,
Yep.
paying
for
the
sure.
They don't
tax,
know. Yes.
paying the tax, and then writing a check to the church.
Yep. They
For
don't know.
sure. They
and
don't
it's a
know.
huge, powerful tool that people just don't know about.
Right. So in the example, if you put 10,000 in, and it grew to 30,000 over a course of years, what is the difference on the amount the church would make?
Yeah. So it depends.
I know it depends on
the
a bunch of
person's
different
taxable
things.
Income. But
Right.
let's say that they have a high taxable income, and so their long-term capital gains rate is 20%. So in scenario one, their $10,000 stock grew to $30,000. They sold the $30,000 of stock. They now paid 20% capital gains
On 20,000.
on 20,000, which is 4,000. So
Right.
instead of being able to donate 26,000,
Yeah.
they could have donated the full 30,000, and they could get the $30,000 deduction instead of only a $26,000 deduction. So they get the church gets a better, or the
Everybody wins.
everybody
Everybody wins.
It's mutually beneficial.
Yes. And
It
that's
is.
long-term capital gains. If they happen to have that gain in a short term or in a year, let's say they bought a hot stock and it grew triple in 6 months, then that's actually not just capital gains, that's short-term gains rate, which is their income tax rate, which if they're at a high rate, I mean, they could pay 35, 37% on that money.
Okay.
So you could save yourself and the organization you're trying to benefit a lot of money.
Okay. So again, I'm trying to understand. What if you just transfer the stock to the donor advice fund? Would it have the same?
Yes, that's what we're saying.
Yeah. Okay.
You transfer the
Yeah.
stock to the donor advice fund.
Oh.
The donor advice fund doesn't even necessarily have to give it to the church or the organization right away. You already got your deduction.
Oh.
Then you choose when you want the donor advice
Yeah.
fund
I
to give.
apologize. Sometimes I learn slowly but steadily.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Okay,
Just
so,
to be-
so it's not actually you're taking your Procter and Gamble stock to the church. You're
no,
doing
it goes to
No.
the donor advised fund first. Yes.
Okay.
And you can do cash like that. There's all kinds of different, mechanisms that can flow into the donor advised fund.
Yeah.
So,
So you could just put money in there and then invest in something.
Yep.
And kind of same thing.
yep.
Real estate.
Ooh, that's a good question.
I don't know the rules.
I'm honestly not sure about real estate. We could look that up and find out.
Yeah.
It's most commonly used for the scenario that we just painted,
Cash,
which
and
is
equities.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I know of churches in town where the homeowner passes and they leave the house in their will. But I wonder if you're still alive. And you happen to have some extra houses or pieces of property.
sure.
Would it be better to just hand over title or whatever.
I'm not sure on that. What we are sure, though, is that there are limits for how much can be deducted.
That's right.
And those limits change, whether it's cash or assets.
Right.
And assets included in that would be real estate, not just securities.
Right.
So even if you had some house that you wanted to, like, let's say you make $100,000 a year and you want to donate a $200,000 house, not only are you not going to get a $200,000 deduction because you can't have negative income, right, when it comes to active income with the IRS, but you probably aren't going to get more than, I'd have to go back and look at the percentages, but it's not more than 50% of your income that you'll be able to deduct just by giving. So there are limits. You can't just give, 100% of everything you're trying to do of all your income. But the beauty of what we're talking about is you don't have to give up the return that you got in a great security investment just to give it away. It allows you to make a transfer.
Okay.
The other thing that is important when we're talking about, for instance, like retirees, once the age changed from 70 and a half to 73, but there are what's called required minimum distributions. So if you had a 401k or you had an IRA that you saved for many, many years and you are now in retirement and you haven't pulled any money from that account, that money has never been taxed. We've talked about this before on your show.
Yeah.
So the IRS now is going to force you to start liquidating money from that account so that you can be taxed on it. They're required minimum distributions. That amount will grow every year as you get older. However, there are many times where a retired person doesn't actually need the money. They're just being forced to withdraw the money and then have to pay taxes. Well, there's something called qualified charitable distribution, QCD, that allows you, I think the last number was 110 or 111,000.
111, I think.
111,000 a year that you can distribute from your IRA to give to a charitable organization tax-free.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the whole reason was you got to take it out. Now I got to pay taxes. I wasn't even going to use the money. Well, this would be a way of saying, hey, look, if you were going to give to your church this year anyway, why don't you do it as a QCD? Then we take care of RMDs and it's tax-free.
Take care of our what?
The RMD, required.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And this is for anybody over 70 and a half. So, but it streamlines the entire process. So you'd be surprised how many 70 and a half plus year olds are probably tithing or donating. Well, they could structure it to include the qualified charitable distribution, and it's much cleaner. Now you get a deduction on the entire amount that you're giving instead of having to meet standard deduction limits and all these things. It's just straight off the top. So if you're over 70 and a half and you're giving regularly and you have retirement plan assets, it should be part of your plan.
Okay. All right. Again, if you're just joining us, we're with Jonathan and Drew of Truvize Financial Planning. Today we're talking about generosity. I love this conversation because we're Christians, we're Bible believing, we believe in stewarding what the Lord has entrusted us with well. And it's interesting just what we're talking about, how important it is, because you think about someone who was so careful to steward money throughout their life, and then when they actually gave it away, they did it in a way that could have been done that was better for them and for the church or organization they're giving it to. If you have questions for Jonathan and Drew, particularly about generosity or about investing in general, you can call in. We're live today, 915-779-0016. Again, 915-779-0016. We're going to go into a break. Do not touch that dial.
915 Talk is listener supported and is a production of Desert Voice Media. That's right. It's people just like you who make this program possible. Together with Desert Voice, you can learn how to better serve our neighbors and pray for our community. To become a Desert Voice Media partner, you can visit desertvoice.media. That's right. That's the website, desertvoice.media. Take a look and join us today in reaching our borderland for Christ.
Thank you for listening to KELP Radio. I am Pastor Drew Cook from Coronado Baptist Church in West El Paso. Join us every weekday at 11:30 a.m. for 2021 Radio. In John chapter 20, verse 21, Jesus says, "As the Father has sent me, even so I am sending you." Our prayer is that as you hear God's word, you would be strengthened, anchored, equipped, and sent to fulfill the ministry that God has given you to do.
Tune in to KELP Radio Monday through Friday at 11:30 a.m. for 2021 Radio from Coronado Baptist Church.
Have you ever wondered what it might be like to connect your Sunday faith with your Monday work? Hi, my name is Tiffany Etterling, and I'm the host of a brand new program right here on KELP called the 323 Podcast. Colossians 3:23 says, "Whatever you do, do it as unto the Lord." Through stories and conversations with business leaders and difference makers, the 323 Podcast equips listeners to honor God in the way they lead, create, and serve. Because in everything we do, our work can reflect the one we serve. Join me each and every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. for the 323 Podcast, right here on KELP Radio.
915.
Testify.
I want to give God all the honor, all the glory, all the praise. There was a time in my life that I was lost in drugs, using and selling, living a sinfully life for 24 years of my life. I was empty, full of hate, anger, bitterness, selfish lies, and perversion. God saved me by His grace. I'm no longer empty. I'm no longer lost. He changed my mind, my heart, and my behavior. I'm no longer slave of anything. Today I know that there's power in the name of Jesus. Today I know that there's purpose. Today I know that I'm fearfully and wonderfully created to make impact through Him, to speak truth, to serve, to give, to love, to forgive, to be kind, to have accountability, to preach by example, and to always know that the victory is His. His will be done. My name is Lev Davidovich. If God can do this for me, He can do it for you.
And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb
And by the word of their testimony.
DesertVoice.media.
We're back. You're listening to 915 Talk.
We are back, and you are listening to 915 Talk. I'm your host, Andy Frecka. Today we're with Truvize Financial Planning, our good friends Drew and Jonathan. We've been talking about generosity and really, in a way, stewarding generosity well, particularly with investments. Again, the phone lines are open today, 915-779-0016 if you have any questions. Drew and Jonathan, we've been talking really more for those folks who maybe have done reasonably well in life, that whole thing of investments and your 401k and all those things. What about this idea that when it comes to tax deductions, tax deductible donations, that there is already a given amount that the government gives us. So we don't need to worry about that if we haven't reached that level of financial blessing, right?
Yeah, well, that's actually one of the other things that you can do is, as we know, the standard deduction was increased a while ago and then maintained in the One Big Beautiful Bill. So what that means is whenever you give to a charity and you donate money, unless you give a certain amount to get over the $16,000 for individuals, $32,000 for married couples filing jointly. If you don't give more than that, if you don't have enough deductions to get over that standard deduction, then it doesn't benefit you tax-wise.
Right.
So one of the things that you can do is save up your donations over multiple years and then make that in a lump sum distribution in 1 year. And then now that amount gets you over that hump, and then you experience the tax benefit of the contribution.
I feel like what you said was really important, and I didn't fully understand.
So let's just try and put it in a scenario and keep the math simple.
Yeah.
So if you're a married couple, right, and you file jointly, okay, then the standard deduction is around $32,000.
Right.
That means when you pay your property tax and your insurance, all these things that go against standard, if you don't have enough of those deductions to get over $32,000, then you're just going to take the standard deduction,
Right.
which is for 90% plus of people, that's what they're going to do.
Right.
Okay. If you get over the standard deduction, then you can itemize. I can list out all my deductions and then deduct them from my taxes.
Which I would throw in real quick. A lot of times you'll hear people saying, oh, buy a house instead of renting. You get to write off the mortgage interest. Not if you just file your taxes under a standard deduction.
Right,
You weren't writing it off anyway.
It doesn't matter.
And for most people, that's the case. So something to remember.
Yeah.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
So what you can do is if you don't have enough charitable contributions in one given year to get over the standard deduction, you can then save those, right? Stack multiple years together to then have enough to get over the standard deduction.
Okay, so let's just make up some numbers.
Sure.
You're a married couple. Your combined income is, I think this will go faster if we have a slightly higher amount, like $150,000 a year for a married couple. So $32,000, most likely you're going to just take the standard deduction. You're saying in 3 years, how does that
Yeah, so
stack?
then it's much more about the number of how much you're donating. So let's say you're doing 10%.
Right.
That's 15 grand per year, not enough to get over the standard deduction. But then maybe 2 years, that's 30 grand, and you're getting close maybe with your other deductions. You now have enough.
A good example would even be waiting, like, instead of giving in December.
Exactly.
Why don't you just wait, give it in January and the next years, and you might be able to cross that threshold.
Yeah.
And that way the church or the charitable organization gets the same amount of money, but you also get a deduction.
So I understood that one.
Yep.
So because you know at the end of the year about how much you're going to give, maybe you have some saved up or whatever to give away, you get that standard deduction in that year. And then in January 2nd, 3rd, whatever, you give that money. That goes towards that year's.
That's
and
right.
then that year you give again in December, and you might push you past
That's right.
that 32,000.
And you can, if you run, the math isn't incredibly complicated, and you can run that same cycle of events and experience a little bit of a tax bump.
Right.
So.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Let's talk about some. Oh, but before we talk about that, we have Charlie One on the phone. Charlie One, what's going out on the roads this afternoon?
Well, not too bad, Andy. We have a crash that I'll get to, but it can be really like this morning. There was a crash on the freeway at I-10 West at Yarborough. 3 lanes blocked off in the rush hours, backed up traffic all the way to Joe Battle. So it can be a jungle out there on the roads. Make sure your teenager learns to drive safely and with confidence with Jungle Driving School, located conveniently at the shops of Solano or on El Paso's west side. Jungle Driving School. You can call 915-900-4943. That's 915-900-4943. 10% discount for KELP listeners. The crash I'm referring to is Gateway West at Westmoreland. We have an injury crash here, but that's active. That's an active scene PD there. Also, there's a lane closure on the border highway, westbound lanes at Delta, right lane closed. I see a little bit of a slowing in that area right there. A little bit of slowing I-10 East, Spaghetti Bowl area. That's to be expected. Andy, back to you.
Charlie One, this afternoon we have Drew and Jonathan from Truvize Financial Planning with us, and we're talking about generosity, and it's true. We should give to others, but sometimes we can't be always thinking about everyone else. Sometimes we just need to treat ourselves, you know? And so if someone wanted to treat themselves with, I guess, maybe the greatest culinary
experience.
What are you going with, Jonathan? Greatest culinary
Indulgence?
Okay, and experience and indulgence of the borderland. Where would you recommend that they go, Charlie One?
And I'll tell you what, sometimes it's not just the indulgence, but it's really calling out to you. That menudo just says, "Hey, I'm here. Come and get me. Come and get me." Because I really, it's not only that, but it's the they used to call it the poor man's soup, but it's very it really tastes great. I don't know how much nutrition it has in it. I can't speak for that, but it's really great. It's modest. It's not going to cost you a bundle. Very modestly priced, and it's going to fill you up and delicious. It's very that's the thing about it, and you can't find that menudo just anywhere in the U.S. In fact, very difficult in the U.S. In El Paso, only some locations have it, such as Eastside Choice Beats, Global Land and Tradewood. It's already prepared there. It's homemade, prepared. Take it home. It's in a It's in a container. Take it home, put it in the refrigerator in the morning, whenever you want. Just put it in the microwave. You find it there, Eastside Choice Meats, Loma Land, and Traywood, Andy.
Thank you, Charlie Wood. We'll talk soon.
You bet.
And we're back with Drew and Jonathan. I want to be clear. Charlie One was waxing poetic about Jungle Driving Academy, which he mentioned. Good folks, Christian owned. They're new. They're over on El Paso's west side. Richie Hatch, the owner, was on this program, and they have a really fun way and really useful way of teaching driving. They use like jungle animals. And so, like, the alligator is the guy who, like, puts the front of his car out in the road before actually turning. And the snake is, like, slithering back and forth. You know, you see these people on the highway. The bull elephant is the semi, you know, and you begin to, like, identify the animals on the road. Yeah. The other thing they do that I thought is pretty cool is they have a class for parents. Because you have to do 30 hours with your child. And I'll tell you, those 30 hours, my wife is a rule follower, and we did the 30 hours. We did not just, fill out the paperwork, which is, I think, what most people do, like standard deductions. But
it's very interesting. My daughter just turned 15, so we're about to do this.
Yeah, so jungle driving, 10% discount for KELP listeners. But Richie was saying, as the parent, when you're sitting there with your child as well, like give 2 to 3 word instructions. Don't speak to them in paragraphs. They're already stressed out. And it was too late for me to get that advice because my kids all have driver's licenses.
I need to tell my wife that advice.
Man, I think back about those times. Driving with my mom was the most stressful thing. And then I'd go drive with my dad and he'd go to sleep. And I'm like, I hope I'm doing it right.
That's hilarious.
2 very different experiences.
Yeah, well, I had to do 8 hours of driving with an instructor in Ohio. And she had me drive her to this place way out in the country. And then I just sat in the car and she went into a house for a few hours and came back out. And
oh, my goodness. Oh my goodness, crazy!
But it is funny. We live in a different time.
Yeah.
What I'm realizing is, it wasn't difficult for me to learn how to drive because growing up, as your parents are driving you around, the only thing you have to look at is your parents driving you around.
Yeah, that's true.
And now kids these days,
they never looked up from their phone the whole
exactly.
time. Oh man,
exactly. It's a totally different world. And so anyway, Jungle Driving Academy, really appreciate them. Shops of Solana.
That's cool.
And they have it's brand new. It's cool. They have like jungle theme everywhere.
Cool.
Including for their driving car. The car you drive around in has like jungle on it.
Wow.
Like,
Cool.
Lion.
The Jurassic Park Jeep.
Exactly.
I'm just kidding.
All right. So we've been talking about generosity, being careful to steward, not just through our lives, but when we actually give away some of those calm blessings that the Lord's given us. I think this is a really important conversation. You think of just maybe there's one person out there who has some stock they're planning to give away. I hope they do it the right way with their church. If they're not sure, reach out to Truvize, TRUVIZE.com, right here in El Paso. But man, we need to maybe do some type of training for churches.
Yeah. I mean, churches get approached all the time, right? They get approached all the time. It's like, I have this or I want to do this. So if they can be more informed, I think, for what the best way to do things are, then, or at least to know who to reach out to, that can go a long way in just maximizing that contribution for everybody.
Right. Yeah. For all sides, as we said. All right. Are we done with generosity? We're going to talk AI. Where are we at?
Yeah. I mean, we can move to AI.
All right. So not enough people talking about AI. So we're going to... we were really excited talking about it before we went on air.
Yeah. Now, this is AI from, what is it? Joshua, right?
Right.
Just AI. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Wow, the obscure biblical humor.
We just went through that book at church, so okay. So just don't give me too much
artificial intelligence. Yes, artificial intelligence. On this program, we've talked about the data centers for El Paso. A lot of people are very passionate one way or the other about those. But what are you guys seeing with AI, where it's at?
I think something that's interesting for our business is, first, just seeing the money side of it is unbelievable. AI stocks, or any sort of, not just the actual AI companies, but the chip makers, the hardware part of the software, all of those companies have absolutely taken over the market, taken over the S&P 500. I saw the other day, and I think the number now just went up, but 37% of the S&P 500 is some sort of AI-related stock.
Wow. I didn't know it was that high.
Okay, so as we said at the beginning of the program, nothing in this, it's just informational purposes. We all got the point. How do you feel about, having said that, investing in AI? Is there an imminent bubble?
Well, from what I just said, so that means that anyone who is investing in the U.S. broad stock market index is already investing in AI stocks heavily, and maybe even more than you already thought.
Right.
I had a client just last week that was saying, hey, I want to talk to you about maybe investing in AI. And I talked to him and said, you already are. And you have a lot of money already in there because those companies have gotten so big. Good example, I had heard of this company, but I didn't even know what they did. Micron.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
What was it?
Micron. They went from, it was a $70 billion market cap to over $1 trillion market cap in the span of like 30 months.
Yep.
I think their stock is up 1,000% in the last 2 years. It just absolutely exploded. And so when we were talking about AI before, saying, is it really going to be what they think that it's going to be? Well, the money is saying that it is going to be possibly the biggest thing that's ever happened to, human business, human industry, bigger than the steel revolution, bigger than anything that we've ever seen technology-wise, even more than a phone, etc. So I think it's something we have to be looking at, and we have to not necessarily have an opinion on, but it's going to be something you might be forced to have an opinion on.
Well, when we look at these companies, some of them are already actually making money.
Yes.
But some of them aren't, from what I understand. So I look at it, and is it really going to be what we think it's going to be? Because at the end of the day, whenever I use AI, I shouldn't say this, I use the free version, and which probably isn't smart, but that's been my default, and I think that's what most people are doing. Yeah. And they have to start charging money. Will everyone really actually start paying?
Well, I think you're hitting the nail on the head to what's actually happening. So the company that's actually making money is Anthropic, which is the owner of Claude AI. And from the very beginning, their business model has not been so much the everyday user, but it has been much more work friendly.
Okay.
So they've developed certain AIs that help with coding, website development, design, just less of a generalist and much more of a specific niche to help make work more productive and quick. That's the company that's the most profitable. And in fact, you've seen recently OpenAI, which owns ChatGPT, they've transitioned into that business model. Yeah. So they're moving away from the everyday user who's just looking at why their house plan died,
right?
Which is still very useful, and is more looking into financial services companies with complex calculations and being able to do all those calculations much more quickly. I even have clients who are coders in Silicon Valley, and they only use Claude to write code now. And I mean, you can hear some crazy things. The CEO of NVIDIA was talking at some panel the other day, talking about his $500,000 a year salaried programmer, how he would be upset if that guy didn't spend, or girl, didn't spend, at least that much in AI cost in their job.
Oh, wow.
So he would be upset if they weren't using that much AI tokens is what they call them. So
yeah, it's interesting. Here at the radio station, we were offered AI news, traffic, and weather.
Oh, interesting.
And so we actually tried to make AI traffic work. I feel like I'm doing a confessional now because obviously we could never say goodbye to Charlie 1.
No way.
But what the AI model was unable to discuss Menudo. So
it kept referencing Ricky Martin.
Well, actually, what was interesting is you had to draw an outline around the area that it was going to do the traffic report on. And we could only get it to make a rectangle, which doesn't work when you're on the border. Yeah. Otherwise, it would be giving Juarez traffic together with El Paso.
Oh, right.
And so, but it was kind of wild because for traffic, weather, and news, it would mimic your voice and automatically go into broadcast. And in a lot of ways, it was enticing. I mean, we spent not a lot of time, but we were curious about it, and we played around with it a little bit. But what we... And we'll see where this goes, but what we found in that moment was people still want that human connection.
100%.
And even though Charlie 1 does come to the KELP open house when we have it every year, he's like considered to be like this secret guy that you can't actually meet in person, the phantom of the El Paso roadways. I've read articles like I met him in person, like, just like, anyway, but that and people connect with Doppler Dave, who does our weather. Yes. And we're working actually, I'm not ready to say exactly how this is going to work, but local news. Cool. So just doing these things, but it's all going to be real people. I was curious about the local news, but what it does is it mimics your voice, and you can put filters on it. But what if it starts reading news using my voice, and it's not the way I would want it read? That's terrifying.
Yeah, that's something that's for sure terrifying, like you said, especially for, actors have been trying to set up in their contracts where they're that you cannot use their voice or their image.
That's what I do here at KELP. I'm just
because if it gets good enough and you can't tell the difference, that is scary.
Sure.
It's not good enough yet. I mean, you could.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends.
Pretty good.
Well, we have access to at a basic level, but you can almost mimic anything already.
Yeah.
Well, even the most recent ones that I've seen have been the ones that Spencer Pratt has been putting out of running for LA mayor.
Yeah.
And I mean, it looks pretty good.
No, and I mean, if the best way that they test it is the video of Will Smith eating spaghetti over the years. You should see the latest version because the first one was all sloppy. The latest version is a full conversation with him and his son at a table having spaghetti with the same prompt. And it's still slightly distinguishable that it's AI just because it looks very polished. But I mean, we're only talking like a couple of years of development. And right now, the restriction is not what is possible. The restriction is hardware.
Yeah.
Meaning data centers, compute power, energy, water, resources itself is what's holding them back. In fact,
which is the whole reason why Elon Musk wants to put them in space.
Yeah, and I mean all of these major AI companies have bought out all of the chip manufacturing that the world can produce for like the next 5 years.
Yeah,
it's all gone. They've all purchased it already.
We were trying to buy like some kind of drive for the station. A little
hard drive? No, it's unreal. Unreal.
We couldn't believe how much the price had gone up.
Yeah, there's a real inflation on the personal computing parts, and also like I can imagine here something that would cost maybe $100 12 months ago or 18 months ago could cost you $5,000 to $1,000. You know, it's crazy. So
okay, so we have this whole AI conundrum. I've seen also recently it's graduation season. And I've seen these commencement addresses. Have you seen this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the boomer, I'm just going to put it that way. The older person comes out, and they're excited to talk about AI in front of a graduating class. And every time they say AI, the students all start booing.
Yeah.
And related to that, I know of organizations where it's the young people who refuse to use AI.
Interesting.
And so you have this pushback, not from the older generation. I'm Gen X or millennial or boomer.
It was
and any of that, but you have the pushback from the youngest.
Yeah.
I think there's really going to be multiple sides to this. I think like when it comes to watching an influencer or looking at videos of your friends, I think there's going to be from all of us a pushback. Kind of like Google Maps should negate the need for Charlie 1 on the radio. But people still love Charlie 1 and they still want to listen to him and the jokes and everything of that sort, right? So it's kind of the same thing where on the entertainment side, I think people are going to flock to authenticity. You know, they're going to get, you already hear AI slop and all of that. Just because of our nature and because of our desire for human connection and those types of things. So I think you're going to have pushback there.
Yeah.
But on the productivity and the work side, in my personal opinion, that is a train that is not going to stop.
Yeah, so you're making a distinction between the average user using it or being used on an industrial commercial level.
But I'm even saying the average user who's just going to work at a local company. That'll just be part of their normal workflow is using AI to help them with whatever they do on a daily basis.
Right.
I'm saying work output itself, productivity itself, whatever that looks like. Maybe it's not even just work, but it's personal productivity. You should see the crazy stuff that you can do with budgets and stuff like that. But that is going to just, be amplified. But I do think that on the personal side of things, people still want human connection. I still think people are going to want to meet with me and Jonathan and help them with their financial advice, that they're not just going to want to hand all that over and have AI handle it if that day ever comes.
We've talked about that even with attorneys have been on this program.
Yeah.
And the difference between having a human sitting in front of you with human intelligence as compared to maybe putting your will together for free online.
Sure.
It's two very different worlds.
Yes.
It is artificial intelligence.
Yeah. And it is the human touch of the emotional connection in our business, the emotion of money, the psychology of money, the way that you react to fluctuations in the market, the way that you react to changes in your job and income, the feelings you have of moving money one way or another. That AI, even if all the knowledge is there, it doesn't mean that you're actually going to execute on that knowledge many times, because it's just the psychology of the way we operate. It's why there's a statistic that we always go back to and talk to clients about when it comes to being successful in the market, and that's that an individual investor, on average, severely underperforms just the index that they're trying to match or potentially to beat. Even professional money managers, but I'm just talking about somebody who opens an account at Fidelity and is just trying to invest. Why? Well, because when it's your money and you see a drop in that account, you have a very different reaction to that than if it isn't your money. No matter how unbiased you really think you are, when it really is yours and you've grown it and you've blood, sweat, and tears over that account and you see it fluctuating, it's hard to not have emotional reactions, even when you know that's not the right thing to do. So it's not just about the knowledge.
Right.
And that's a huge part of the value that we bring is, look, we know what we should do. We know what the numbers say, but how do we actually incorporate that into your everyday life?
Right. And what I'm also reminded of is how some of AI is trained to keep you happy.
Oh, yes,
and,
for
and,
sure.
and to agree with you, kind of regardless of how insane your proposition is. And I think as financial advisors and having that human connection, part of the difficult part of much of the difficult part of your job is not just crunching numbers or making projections, but really having a difficult conversation with someone.
That's a great point. I haven't thought about that, Andy. But yes, when you're sitting there talking to ChatGPT or Claude or whatever and saying, here's all the inputs of this scenario, and if it can tell you kind of want to go with option A instead of option B, and then you ask it which one's better, it's going to lean more to the option that it knows you want, not necessarily the right one.
Right.
And I think that I think that most times the A arguments are at a level down here, but this one is these are the real issues, is that you have now again a handful of companies that are controlling the flow of all information.
Yeah.
We already experienced issues with this with social media, that the statistics are something like 12,000 people in the world control, what flows through social media. And they've had all the hearings and the studies on how these algorithms work. AI will be much worse. There's going to be very few people that control that. Money will be the backbone of those decisions. We're going into a very challenging time, I think.
Right.
Where there's going to be a lot of ethical questions, and it'll be very interesting to see how things pan out. From that standpoint. So
that's why when I use AI, I always say please and thank you, just so when the machines rebel against mankind, they won't single me out.
Well, Claude will end the conversation if you're not nice to it.
Oh, really?
It'll just shut the chat down and it's gone. Yep. So,
really?
Yep.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's funny. So, Jonathan, I know you grew up in church here in El Paso, right?
I did, yeah.
You went to Jesus Chapel School?
I did.
Drew?
I grew up here in El Paso. I went to Calvary Chapel of El Paso for majority of my life. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So with that in mind, is AI the next Tower of Babel?
Man.
Folks, we have Truvize Financial Planning here on right now.
I think it's the closest we've ever come.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of potential because if we're looking at it from two perspectives, I really enjoy using AI for my work and for helping people and the things that I do. But also we have to understand that it's a worldly system, and you can even use that system to help you grow spiritually, in accessing scripture and those kinds of things. But it is a worldly system. And I do think we are, in my opinion, heading towards to the next progression of technological advancement that has massive implications. And just like we saw with the internet and social media, because it is a worldly system, there's going to be a lot of evil that comes with it. And I think it's potentially, this is going to sound crazy, okay? But I think there's evil that could come with it that is more detrimental to us than we have ever experienced in our lives.
Yeah.
Just because of the access and the ability to create independently anything that's in your heart. Yeah. And I think that's always potentially dangerous.
Yes,
so, wow. In conclusion, we need Jesus.
Yes, amen.
That's exactly right.
Oh, man. So I believe this conversation has been really useful. Jonathan, Drew, really appreciate it. If you're listening today and you missed the first part, we were talking about generosity, but we were also talking about when you get to that part of your life, which hopefully is now or soon, maybe later on, but when you get to that part of your life where you're looking to donate heavily from the investments that the Lord has blessed in your life, make sure you get some help, some advice to make sure that you're getting the best benefit and the church or the nonprofit you're giving to has the very best benefit. So if you missed that part of the conversation, go to desertvoice.media, look up 915 Talk. This conversation will be posted tomorrow. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the platforms. But I think that's super important. And shout out to Truvize. Appreciate you guys being good friends of this radio ministry. The website is truvize.com. The number for Truvize is 915-502-0096. Drew and Jonathan, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, super fun. As we always say, let's learn to love our city, love our neighbors, and as the Lord blesses us, let's be careful to steward not just the gains, but the donations as we give those away. May the Lord guide us as we give those away, and may we see a great impact for His kingdom and here in our community. This has been 915 Talk. You have been listening to 915 Talk, a production of Desert Voice Media. To listen to this or any previous edition of 915 Talk, just visit desertvoice.media and click on the 915 Talk link. Let's continue to learn to love our city, love our neighbors.